I'll bring in Omar now. Omar, it was the game between Guinea Bissau and Nigeria. What went wrong? Everyone has talked about the responsibility of these players, and we saw other players around, Indidi, Chukwueze, Iheanacho. Would you blame only the coach, or would you also say the players definitely lacked coordination and poise?
I think that everybody must share in the blame. Like Aaron have said, you can't point out the coach alone. You must also blame the players. I don't think that they lacked passion. You could see passion, you could see energy, you could see shared determination, but there was no coordination, cohesion, understanding, and balance. And that is what we employed a coach for. You brought in a coach to bring that certain level of cohesion, understanding, teamwork. But we're not seeing that so far in the Super Eagles of Nigeria. He's lost 5 games, he's drawn nothing, he's won 2, he's not been able to keep a clean sheet. And that is not a good thing going forward. Right now, you are beginning to wonder, are we going forward or we are walking backward? And I think that the latter is the case, because we've changed coaches, like Aaron have said, 3 coaches in the last 1 year. The result is not the same. It's getting worse. And that is something that calls for concern. And I think that, like Aaron said, a lot of the players also needs to check themselves. But that is where you blame the manager. I've said this before. We had a terrible experience of not qualifying for the FIFA World Cup. A new coach was employed, and he starts with the same set of players, except for Brighton Saeed Samuel, who we are seeing already showing some sparks. And that is the type of change you need as a new manager. You need to change some players. You need to call in new set of players who want to prove that they can stay in the national team. If you keep calling the same people who failed many times, you will see that there's no will, there's no energy, there's no determination. I don't want to call out names, but we know from what we saw yesterday, a number of players have no business being called to the national team. But what do? We have a coach who is supposed to be uncompromising, doing things worse than even local coaches were accused of not being transparent and honest will do. I'll give you an example. In every serious country, when a player does well for club, he's rewarded with a call to the national team. There's a player called Victor Boniface, who plays for Saint Union Goulois in Belgium. This is not a campaign for a player. I don't know him personally. This guy is the 2nd highest goal scorer in the UEFA Europa League. Not just doing well in the Belgian league, but doing well in Europe's 2nd biggest tournament. Nobody called him up. They didn't even call him for the under-23 team, and he's 22 years old. There's no Nigerian footballer currently with the qualities and attributes that Victor Boniface possesses. He's a player with pace, power, and energy, and he's got craft and guile. In a team like this, when you have a player like Victor Osimhen, who is a goal poacher, you need a player who is as creative as Boniface, who also has energy, who can create chances, who can also score goals. But no, someone close to me spoke with the manager and mentioned this name to him, and he said, he's on our long list. I laughed. How can Boniface be on your long list? It shows that there's clearly no effort to make a change. And that is the result. And I hope that it pays them for it.
Now, the Eagles have a high mountain to climb. The fans are getting impatient, if not already being impatient. And now they have to go all the way to Guinea to get a much needed victory. We saw in the World Cup qualifiers, Omar, Cameroon lost the first game, and Eto said if we could lose and we can go away to Algeria and record a victory, and that happened. This Eagles side, is there a chance that we'll see a difference in play from them on Monday?
I mean, like I said, you can't say that it was a totally bad performance. You could see intention, you could see energy, you could see dexterity individually. Perhaps they were lacking in the final touches, they were lacking in those kind of coordination, cohesion, team balance, and understanding that you need in critical moments, to score. Because we were go down, we needed to score goals. but there was no calmness. To a very large extent, I could see most of the players making hasty decisions. Again, I don't want to mention names. They need to be calmer. They need to be more. They need to play together more as a team. They need to speak together rather than complain about each other on the pitch. That's not a good thing for team spirit. Going into the second leg, they need to be calmer. They need to be less under stress. I think that if we do the same thing, but with a little bit more coordination and some level of luck, maybe we can do better in the second leg. I think that there's hope. I think that this team can conjure something. What Guinea-Bissau did, Guinea-Bissau overall wasn't the better side. What they did was a smash and grab, ball over the top, one opportunity, bang, a goal. And that is massive, massive credit to them because they didn't need to do the best. They just needed to do the needful. Just like Ghana did when they qualified for the World Cup ahead of Nigeria. They weren't the better side, but they were the more organized side. And that's what Guinea-Bissau did against Nigeria. So I think that if all of these can change, make sure that you cut all of these loopholes, you close all of these loopholes, and be able to be more organized, be more focused, be calmer in front of goal. I think that things can change. And again, maybe a little bit of change in personnel, perhaps we can get results. Let me quickly go back to what Aaron said about not being a matter of form. I don't think that you can completely wish away the quality and the form of a player at club level. Because in every national team, there must be standards. If you throw away those standards, then you can call anybody. I think that Aaron has mentioned the exceptions, and exceptions are never the rules. In every national team, form is the bedrock. Form is the yardstick employed in calling players to the national team. The French national team is the strongest national team outside of in Europe right now. You saw what they did to the Netherlands. Look at the quality of players in that team. These are the best French players all over the world. You go to the World Cup. Argentina won the World Cup. They have some of the best Argentine players all over the world. So I think that even in this current team, not all of them are playing regularly. If we have to be critical, Paul Onuachu hasn't been very, very effective since going to England. Even the commentator said yesterday that Paul looked rusty. Ahmed Musa hasn't played up to 90 minutes in the last 6 weeks in Turkey. Wilfred Ndidi that you mentioned, Wilfred has not been playing for Leicester. That's why you need competition. That's why you need to call up new blood, people who are fresh and need to prove a point. And that is where the manager, in my opinion, is not working. He's doing a lazy job, and that's the result he's getting. He needs to improve.
Cameroon played a 1-1 draw against Namibia, and Cameroonian players have the spirit. So you could probably think they would go to Namibia and get goals. Now talk to us about the difference on the African continent. We've seen a surge in play of other African teams. Senegal, Cameroon, and the likes in the last 3 years have developed. Talk to us about it briefly.
Exactly. Thank you. I like what you just brought about. I was going to talk about. I was waiting for you to lead to give the direction. You see, and what makes it even more painful is that the other big teams on the continent of Africa won their matches. Egypt won, Mali won, Ivory Coast won, Cameroon, of course, the only one that didn't win, but they didn't lose. That's why Nigeria's situation is worse. Algeria, they fought hard to get a 2-1 victory against a resilient Niger side. I watched that game live. You could see effort, energy, determination. And like you said, teams are developing while Nigeria, blessed with a lot of talent, not growing, not going forward. And that is where leadership comes to play. And when I talk about leadership, I talk about administrative leadership, because they say everything rises and falls on leadership. First thing first, whoever sanctioned the appointment of Jose Peseiro needs to be questioned, because even talk about pedigree, he has no pedigree. And we can see already that he doesn't have the personality, the intelligence, and the mindset to create the kind of national team that we crave, especially having suffered a lot. So it's unfortunate because everyone, like you've mentioned, is growing this way while we are not stagnating. We're actually going downward, and that's a shame. And when you look at the results across the continent, there's no surprise. No, the only surprise is that Liberia drew against South Africa. Anyway, that's not the surprise, because it is South Africa we're talking about. The other big teams won, and that is quality. Senegal, They won by 4-0. Sadio Mane came back from injury. He scored. And that's the type of thing we're talking about when Aaron was mentioning. Leadership, bringing club form back to the national team. You don't see that in our current players. And again, I keep saying it. This set of players are not mature enough. There's more to being big stars than what they are doing. They need to really sit themselves down and talk to themselves.